Welcome to Liberty Tactics.
Afternoon. What are we doing, James?
I'm checking the date, it's the 21st of September. Usually I'm a bit slick with
And
that.
it's 5 o'clock.
And it's 5 o'clock. That was the Awesome 44 Fires, which are a listener. They're a listener to the show. 44 Fires, and they said, can you play our music? We're a political metal band. And upon listening to it, I was like, F yeah, because that's some good stuff.
Isn't it?
Very
Excellent.
good stuff.
Well done,
we'll throw
guys.
up a
Well
link
done, James.
up on libertytactics.com after the show with a link to the band. So what's been going on there?
What's been going on? Well, I've been trying to get in touch with...
Oh, you're getting a bit...
I'm getting a bit flapped.
Yeah.
Well, Max Igan was supposed to be on with us tonight, but he hasn't come online, so I'm hoping he has.
You're looking out the window too, in case
No,
he's skipping down the lane.
Hardly. I was looking at the laptop to see if he's come online, but he hasn't. So I'm going to try and get in contact with Nick Green, actually, who will talk a lot about the farming.
So fill a lot of space, you mean?
Fill some space, yeah. Oh. So if you want to talk...
I think our listeners want to listen to us talk about
crap
things. Well, we got news. We've got news.
Go on then, you start with the news and I'm going to just message Nick.
Oh, God.
Go.
It's like,
oh, no, he's offline as well.
It's being like on the cast of EastEnders this week.
Isn't it? Drama.
First of all, I'd like to say a big congratulations to Patrick Hennessing from 21st Century Wire and...
UK column.
Because he has got 1,000 friends on Facebook! Yay! Well done, mate. We need to get there in the end.
And he looked great in a shirt and tie.
Oh
on the
yeah,
column,
his life is fulfilled now.
Exactly.
Now that he's got 1,000 friends on Facebook.
1,000 friends and he's wearing a shirt.
I've got about 500. Some borderline suicidal.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know how I can get out of bed every single day. Until I'm just not getting poked enough, you know.
Oh yeah.
But it's good to have that, and I like to have Twitter and all those other really trendy things so that I can get
Twitter?
Oh, I love it, yeah, because then they get to track what I'm doing, and there's this new thing on the iPhone OS 6 that just came out earlier this week, which I'm not upgraded to, but I'm really excited because it tracks you at all times, and it tracks what your friends are doing, so you can keep track of everybody, and they have no privacy. It's awesome.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
and who else keeps tracks? Yeah, lovely one.
So it'll be good. They'll be able to say, oh, James is in the toilet right now. James is, in his bedroom right now. James is walking down the field right now. It's going to be great for stalkers. So it's something I'm really looking forward to. It's bringing the sort of the tricks of the Secret Services into the hands of neighborhood snitchers. So that's pretty cool. And apparently they've got what's it, big lineups outside the Apple stores.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, because they got a new iPhone out apparently.
Okay.
So it's like the other one, but a couple of inches longer. So if that's not an upgrade,
whoa,
hold back.
Whoa. So what's going on in the news?
Well, we got some tech news. Researchers have developed, and this is one of those bits of news that's probably being used by the intelligentsia services sometimes.
Okay.
But they've actually got a way now where they, with a device and a handheld instrument, the way that Wi-Fi signals bounce off walls, that they basically get like an X-ray of...
Well, we had Mike, didn't we, from Smart Meters UK, Smart Meters.
Which is interesting because they're installing these smart meters everywhere. And now they've actually come out and said, yeah, we've got devices now that we can stand outside of a house and get like a sort of a radar sort of... I guess it'd be like Daredevil vision of what's going on inside your house, which, I mean, isn't creepy at all.
No, not at all.
The explosive GM news was...
Oh, that's really bad.
That rocked earlier in the week. Basically, I think it was Russian scientists finished an extensive study on GMO corn, and all of their little rats developed massive amounts of tumours. Following the release of a peer-reviewed piece of research linking the consumption of Monsanto's Roundup-containing GMO crops and minute safe levels of the Roundup pesticide and fertilizer concoction.
Yeah.
Basically, all these rats grew giant tumors. They died 50 to 75% of the time younger. You know, they cocked off earlier. The women died more. So
yeah, did you see that children by the age of 5, if their parents have been having GM food, have been eating that GM corn, the children can die by the age of 5. That was in a report yesterday.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm sure we're going to have the NHS saying that's completely irrelevant and GM is fine.
Well, they've also... Well, you're going to talk about that in a minute, what the NHS are saying.
But anyway, so France pretty much, you know, I know it's popular to hate the French in England. And with good reason, they do have annoying accents. But one thing I love about the French is the populace still actually gets pissed off when they're getting screwed, and they actually, you know, complain about things. They, you know, if there's dodgy practices going on in the corporate world, or if there's GM crops. I mean, the farmers grab pitchforks like the good old days and torches and set fire to the crops. While over here we just say, "Oh yeah, go on then."
Yeah, let's go on. Just poison us a bit more.
Oh, could you poison us a bit nicer?
Well, just up the road from me, there's a lovely organic farm called Riverford Foods. Plug them; they're really great. But down the road, literally, there's a field with all these little patches. I think where they're doing GM testing.
Yeah.
So birds come along, you know, it's going to contaminate all the lovely stuff that Riverford Food are producing, and I think it's shocking.
But I mean, that's the whole thing with this this lovely soft tyranny that we've got, is that they seem to get away with this. Anyways, the French, not so much of a pushover. They you know, I guess more recently were decapitating monarchs, so they've got a bit more of an oomph in them. And they haven't got any fluoridated water over there either, which is true. Interesting. But yeah, so they're actually pretty much trying to put a full-on ban of any sort of testing of GM crops and anything like that nationwide, and so is much of Europe now. They're really like sort of jumping on this. I've heard nothing from UK sources, of course.
No, of course
I think one MP was vocal, and he you know, called to light, but we're not sure if they're actually still going to do anything. But anyways, GM, who the hell needs it?
Nobody needs it. Nobody needs it at all.
Yeah, so, and then the other thing, last week, it was when we had Clive the Car, so 2 weeks ago, we talked about that, you know, hit piece on how organic food is no better than the lovely pesticide stuff. And somebody just on my Facebook, actually, the Facebook that has only got 500 friends, posted up a story on their wall, and it was basically from the NHS Choices website, and they were basically analysing that sort of thing, and their conclusion was, yeah, you know, the water with the turd or the water without the turd is basically the same other than the turd, and that seems to be good enough. And they say, you know, you can just, there's no health benefits from eating naturally pesticide-free healthy food. You may as well just eat some more chips, because then you get to spend more time in the NHS hospitals. There was something else. Oh yeah, Uruguay. You know why I always say Uruguay incorrectly, because I read it like Homer Simpson. Anyways, Uruguay is just sort of apparently they're looking to pass a new law which basically gives the government control of marijuana production and distribution, and they're gonna basically legalize marijuana as long as they're the ones doing it, which I guess is better than getting locked up or shot for smoking it, but it's a gesture, isn't it?
Yeah, he's Max Igan is online. He's stuck in traffic. He's flown off to Egypt because he's trying to get over to Gaza.
Really?
So he's in a taxi, and he will be available in 15 minutes. So that's great. We can waffle for 15 minutes.
Oh God, that's a sigh of relief. Right?
I had poor Vinny. I'm messaging Vinny, help!
Yeah.
But that's cool. That's cool. And Garish won't answer his phone. Roger Hayes is busy.
I'm busy.
So, aren't you always?
Yeah.
Can I talk about some news?
You want to talk about some news now?
I'd like to talk about something. If I can find the article.
There's a deal on at Curry's.
No, it's not that. Oh, Brad Pitt's there, though. Okay. In the Eye today, there is this story. A senior member of the Royal College of General Practitioners was under investigation last night after advising medical students to act less overtly gay to ensure they pass their medical exams.
Oh, Ducky.
And this is how shocking. That's just shocking. Dr. Una Coles had written a guide setting out ways in which military candidates can neutralise bias from the college examiners. I think that's just shocking.
So what is this? Who produces the I newspaper then? Is that
The Independent. It's only 20p, and it's just got all the stories without waffle. There were some really good articles in there yesterday.
Apparently, there's an auto-tune going on with Nick Clegg that's quite popular.
Yeah, I wanted you to find that to play because Brian and I mentioned it. I mean, how desperate that is.
I can play it for our listeners who haven't desperate.
Yeah, he's done a rap or something to say sorry, and his apology was absolutely pathetic. Another story that I have. Antibiotics help spread the MRSA bug. A common antibiotic is helping a deadly superbug spread throughout hospitals, according to research. Cases of MRSA, a bacteria which causes serious infection of the skin, blood, lungs and bones, decreased when prescription drugs, ciprofloxacin, I think that's how you pronounce it, were reduced at University London. So really, it's the medications that are poisoning everybody and giving this MRSA and spreading the MRSA. So that's good to know. Over to Facebook. A mother who read her daughter's death on Facebook has made a complaint to the police. Cheryl, 49, called her daughter's mobile, but it was answered by Gwent policeman. The daughter, Carla James, 30, collapsed and died at a flat in Tredegar, South Wales. Mrs. Jones saw the Facebook tribute page, Rest in Peace Carla, posted by her daughter's friends before the police had bothered informing her. Is that not just disgusting?
That's a bit weird, yeah.
That is just a bit sick.
Was she writing the status like, oh, I'm just about to die?
I don't think we should make a joke about that. I think that's quite sick
disgusting.
of you, actually. It is. That's just, I can cope with much, but I think that's really shocking.
Really?
Shame on you.
Thanks for putting me in
Your
my
bald
place.
head.
But all the blokes are like...
Yeah. Anyway, go on, play Nick.
But then again, anything's going to happen before the police show up.
This is true.
You know, they show up, 4 days, 5 days after you call them saying you're getting stabbed, and then they give you a leaflet saying dealing with being a victim. That's that's what happened. The one time I called the police, all the motorbikes in my street had our road tax nicked. So this is a true story. It happened last year. So I'm like, oh my blooming hell! All of our road tax discs have been stolen overnight. So I called the police. And then the constable on the end of the phone said, as soon as I said, oh, all of our tax discs have been stolen, he said, oh, well, you do realise that we could fine you now for having an untaxed disc. And I said, you're taking the piss, right? I said, I'm calling you to actually tell you that it's been stolen. He said, oh, well, I don't think I would, but, just so that you know that you can get fined now. And I thought, yeah, he's probably updating his database, telling somebody to sort of a Barbie to go around.
You had drama with the. You can actually tell that story about the truck, your big American truck.
Still telling this.
That's okay. Sorry.
Then 5 days later, a WPC showed up, and she said, "Oh, well, we can't really do anything about the." She was quite attractive, actually. She said, "We can't do anything about the theft. We'll never catch them." And I said, "Well, I didn't really think that you would." And then she said, oh, but here's a victim dealing with being a victim leaflet. And I said, oh, well, that'll sort everything out then.
That'll make it better.
That'll pay for my £20 tax disc. I've never bothered putting a tax disc on the motorbike again.
Don't say that out loud. Anyway, can we play Nicky Cleggy? Yeah, and then you need to come back with your truck story about them clamping it.
They clamped my big pickup truck because it was too big to fit on my driveway and one of the wheels was touching the pavement.
Yeah.
And it was untaxed because I wasn't driving it. And
it was off the road, and then one wheel was touching the pavement.
Yeah, we were sort of touching the pavement. And then when I went out and said, started to talk about it, they go into this weird defensive, sir, please, you're being violent with me. And I thought, well, no, I'm not being violent. If you want me to be violent, I'll be violent. Tell me something, pal. You feel lucky? Anyways, let's play this Nick Clegg thing. And
then we'll get Max on.
Cool.
I'd like to take this opportunity to put a few things straight. When I meet people around the country, it's obvious that many of you have strong and pretty mixed reactions to some of the things that Liberal Democrats have done in government. Many of you tell me that you're glad that at a time of real economic uncertainty, we put aside our political differences to provide our country with stable leadership. But I also meet people who are disappointed and angry that we couldn't keep all our promises. We couldn't keep all our promises. Above all, our promise not to raise tuition fees. And to those people, I say this. We made a promise before the election that we would vote against any rising fees. We would vote against any rising fees. We would vote against any rising fees. It was a pledge made with the best of intentions. The best of intentions. But we shouldn't have made a promise we weren't absolutely sure we could deliver. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. There's no easy way to say it. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. There's no easy way to say it. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. When we're wrong, we hold our hands up, but when we're right, we hold our heads up too. You learn from your mistakes, and that's what we will do. I accept that won't be enough for everyone, but I owe it to you. You learn from your mistakes, and that's what we will do. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. There's no easy way to say it. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. There's no easy way to say it. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, we are sorry, we are sorry. The Liberal Democrats are sorry. There's no easy way to say it. We are sorry, we are sorry, we are sorry, we are sorry. The Liberal Democrats are sorry. There's no easy way to say it. We are sorry. And if we've lost your trust, that's how I hope we can start to win it back.
That was Nick Clegg's apology song. That was pretty wicked, actually.
Oh my God.
You're
tears.
You're in tears. I'm strangely aroused, like an episode of One Direction is on.
Joe,
Okay,
my daughter's here and she loves One Direction.
We're joined by Max Igan. Welcome, Max. How's it going, mate?
It's good. Thanks for having me on, guys. Sorry I was a little bit late.
No
That's
problem.
all right.
We were filling the space with Nick Clegg.
Okay, I got stuck
This
in
is
car
this is
traffic,
exactly
which is
what-
something to be experienced.
Yeah.
It was,
You don't want
it
Clegg filling anyone's space.
Before we go into why you're and where you are and why you're there, I'm sure most of our listeners know a bit about your background, Max. But how did you get into the broadcasting, the truth, what woke you up? Let's just rewind and know a little bit more about you, please, Max.
Well, I mean, I was never really asleep, to be honest. I've been researching since I was about 8 years old. I remember questioning things when I was 4. And so I was never really asleep. I've been awake pretty well my whole life and been involved in alternative research pretty well my whole life. What got me speaking out more publicly than what I had been in the past was 9/11, as with so many other people. It was a major event, and I thought that, once I saw this happen, I felt a real need to start speaking out and trying to get the word out to people, because it was kind of the main event that we were waiting for. Everyone was waiting for this big event that was going to holler in, harken in the New World Order and the global police state that they want to create. And when 9/11 happened, well, that was it. And I thought, well, this is getting serious, so it's time to speak out. So what I did, I started making some slideshows, some YouTube presentations, and I basically got picked up from there. Someone saw some of my presentations. They had me on their show for an interview, and within a month or two of being interviewed on this show a few times, the radio station offered me my own show. And I've been doing it ever since, and it's been very successful. And so I can thank all the listeners out there for that, because it's them that have brought the show the success that it's had. But really, I mean, it's all about just trying to help shift the consciousness. I think we all need to do the little bits that we can. And that's what I'm trying to do, just offer my perspective in the hope that it brings about some positive change.
Yeah, because it's been. I mean, I've seen your films. Awakening is just fantastic, and you did the 2012 as well, didn't you? That was just brilliant. What's the plan next? Have you got more videos coming?
Well, yeah, I've got a new film that I want to make. I'll probably start filming around about March next year. This will involve Ben Stewart again, who was in my last film, Transformation, and it will probably also involve Ken O'Keefe and myself and Rick Simpson and possibly another couple of people as well.
Okay.
I'm going to go to the Amazon. I'm going to do some filming down there. I want to do a film about the loss of shamanistic tradition and the need to preserve this culture. because it's really being encroached on by the corporate machine. They're working very hard to do it. And I think it's very, very significant, the shamanistic traditions, because the shamanistic culture is one of the big things that this system has worked so hard to destroy. You know, the Crown Corporation, the East India Trading Company, the pirates, all of the things that we did when we went out and colonised the world, in inverted commas, what we really did was we went out and we destroyed every native culture that we could find. And so you've got to ask yourself why. Yeah. What was so threatening about these native cultures to the system? And why was paganism outlawed so much? And pantheism? I mean, why were these things seen to be the absolute, epitome of evil? These things were vilified more than any other thing as far as our current religious-based system goes. And really, we do have a religious-based system. If you look at the whole global political system, it's all ecclesiastic in nature. It all comes from the Vatican. So it all comes from this religious concept that's been forced over human consciousness. And then like I said, one of the most important things they did and one of the most effective things they did was to go out and wipe out all these shamanistic traditions. So you've got to ask why. You've got to wonder what the importance of these traditions is. And I think it's of extreme importance. My recent trip to South America, I did some shamanistic ceremonies down there. I talked to some of the shaman. I got to meet the people. And it gave me a really new understanding of reality and a new understanding of the world that I kind of half had before, but I didn't have any way of really confirming it. And now that I've been there and seen what they're doing down there, it has confirmed a lot of things for me. And I think it's absolutely vital that we preserve what's left of this culture.
Definitely. So what are your thoughts on why this is why this has all happened? Why have they been taken out?
Well, it's because of the connection they have to Earth, the connection they have to reality and to ourselves. And we are absolutely children of this Earth. We really are. The Earth is what created us. If we have a God at all, then it is this Earth, because this Earth is what gives us life. And it's this connection. This is the connection that the shamanistic practices have and the shamanistic cultures have. And they keep this and they keep people going with this, and we're losing it. And there's very, very few pockets of it left in the world where we can actually access these realms and access this knowledge. And I think it's absolutely vital that it's preserved. I mean, it is a real connection with Earth. It's a real connection. Everything that I've said on the shows, I've often talked about energy. I've talked about our relationship to nature and our relationship to each other, how it's all one. And if you go through science, you look at the work of people like Bruce Lipton, he can explain this now through cellular biology, how it all works. And this is demonstrated in these shamanistic practices. It's literally, it's like a connection to the Gaia spirit or the female spirit or the mother spirit, whatever you want to call it. You know, we all inherently feel this female presence, this mother spirit that is part of our reality here, and it connects you to that. What people have called Mother Earth, what the New Age people call Gaia. And all these things have been, hijacked and replaced. Or the New Age system, the New Age belief system has hijacked all of this shamanistic stuff, and it's kind of replaced it with this airy-fairy, fluffy version of it, which doesn't lead anywhere. And religion is all based on this stuff as well. Even when you look at Christian rituals, they're all based on these same days. They're all based on days that were traditional pagan days of worship. So it's still intertwined with everything. It's just there enough of it to make us feel some sort of a connection, but then it leads us down a blind alley. Mm-hmm. And because the whole human experience has been reduced to commerce under this current system, everything is given a dollar value, and the Earth is seen as a resource. It's not seen as anything alive or anything that really serves us, or not anything that we come from. It's seen as something that only serves us, if you know what I mean. So that's the way we've had our whole perspective of what reality is changed. We've had our whole perspective of Earth changed, and our whole perspective of our connection to the Earth changed. So it's something that we need to get back. It's vital, because we're losing it. And what I found when I was through South America is that the last place these traditions seem to exist in any real form is in the highland reaches of Peru, and that's where I think we need to put a lot of focus. So that's why I'm doing a new film anyway. That's why it's all going to be made about that, and it's going to be down there, and it's going to involve as many people as I can, and try to start some sort of a global movement to save this area and make some decent impact. And I think I've got some ways we can do it as well.
Any clues?
Well, I don't really want to spoil the
No, of course
the
not. But can you give us a
story.
little bit?
Well, I really think that with audience participation, we can save the Amazon. I'll just put it that way.
Okay.
And I think it's a good thing to do as well, because it doesn't matter what your political affiliations are. It doesn't matter what race you're from. It doesn't matter what you believe. We're talking about the lungs of the earth. And it's something that absolutely needs to be saved. And I think it would be very inspirational as well if we could create a movement that would actually work, that can be seen, even operating within the parameters of this system, that can be seen to offer some really viable alternative to what's going on there now, and bring about some really positive action on behalf of everybody. I think we can do it. I think it'd be very inspirational if we did, and I think that we can. So that's what it's going to be all
That's
about.
great. Peru's actually somewhere that I'm desperate to go to. I so want to go there, and I had, doing a bit of meditation a year ago, I had all this stuff from Peru, and I didn't realise it was Peru, and just a load of synchronicity things happened, and that's where I want to head to at some point in the near future, I hope.
Well, it's a really special place, and we are losing it. But I mean, if you went there now, it's kind of shocking what's being done to it. I mean, Lima, the capital city, it's like a festering sore or something. It's like an open wound on the surface of Peru. But they're very, very quickly embracing Western culture. They all want the Nikes and the plasma screens, and they've got money now. Money's a new form of energy for them, so it's there to stay, of course. So we're going to have to use that and try to manipulate the energy that they're using now, and try to circumvent what's going on. And kind of they've hijacked our shamanism, so let's try to hijack their corporate system and lead it back into shamanism.
Absolutely. Staying with the old corporatism stuff and politics. I mean, obviously you're Australian. Ian Crane's come over and met you. He's a very close friend of ours here. How are things? I mean, Ian goes on the whole geopolitical agenda. We don't hear too much about what's happening over in Australia at the moment, i.e. with the politics and the whole New World Order agenda, Agenda 21. Can you give us a little bit of insight what it's like over there, please?
Well, it's the same as everywhere else in regards to that. I mean, it's happening everywhere. The whole global corporate system is encroaching itself everywhere. They're just trying whichever tactics will work in whichever country they're trying it in. And they use slightly different approaches in different countries, but it's happening everywhere. I mean, there's really no difference. Everywhere that I've been around the world so far, and I've been through about 10 countries now, and I've got a few more to go through before I get home. And I'm seeing the same thing everywhere, just done from a slightly different perspective. It's just all the consolidation of corporate power. I mean, in Australia, of course, we've got, they're turning the place into a mine, basically. We've got coal seam gas mining going rampant across the country. We've got most of our food bulk's been sold to China, and they're going to put in coal mines as well. Not just coal seam gas, but coal mines. And the thing about Australia is we have a very small population that's very spread out, and it's very difficult to unite the people on these issues because they're all concerned with jobs all the time. I think, the government's going to bring us jobs, and jobs are what's important. They never really stop and ask why they have to have jobs. Why is it that they have to pay to be alive? That whole sort of thing. I mean, this whole corporate system, it's the same everywhere. It doesn't matter what country you're in. That's the thing, like we may not be hearing bits, what's happening in Australia, we may not be hearing what's happening in Greece sometimes or whatever country, but ultimately if you step back and look at it, it's all the same. It's all the same everywhere. Just different strokes for different folks. Depends on what the culture requires to push the corporate agenda through. But it's going through everywhere. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you vote in. It makes no difference what political party is in power. It's the same agenda. It's a global thing. Global interdependency. Removing autonomy from every nation so that every nation is dependent upon every other nation. So no one can ever be self-sufficient. Locks them into this whole global market very nicely. And we're seeing this absolutely everywhere.
And of course, Max, this is eugenics is a large part of this. And one news story that really shook me earlier in the year was the fact that they're pushing for allowing children to give consent without their parents' involvement to be sterilized as young as 12 years old. And this sort of echoes through to, Australia's quite rich with their eugenics and their sterilization because, of course, they used it to wipe out a large portion of the Aboriginal peoples of that country. So have you got any more information on that, or just from what we've heard earlier in the year?
No, just really what you heard earlier in the year, but that did go through, and it's gone through in all sorts of different countries as well. I mean, it's gone through right across Australia, absolutely, across almost every state in Australia. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely shocking what they're doing here. Just 12-year-old girls saying it's okay for you to sterilise me and give me shock treatment. It's okay, I don't have to tell my parents because it says here on this form that it's okay.
Yeah,
I mean, it's terrible the way they're just brainwashing these kids, and of course you can stand over these children and get them to sign anything they want.
Well, you've got.
But again, this is all got to come back to trust. It's really all got to come back to a breach of trust. That's the only way I believe we can deal with this political system at all, is by putting it all back into trust.
Because you have this. I've seen similar stories coming out of the States where they're trying to get that with sterilisation in the States, but also what's big in the States is vaccinations for children without parental consent. And of course, with the children going to school 8 hours a day, they basically believe what is right is what they're told. So you have this culture that humans are bad and humans are destroying the earth and humans are evil.
Yeah.
And that basically the new religion is statism. That's the government is the religion now. And you've got the government is basically saying humans are bad.
And they're scaring the children as well. The government, they're showing them videos. They have
no self-worth, and then they're also saying, "Oh, by the way, we'll give you an iPad too if you
come and have
get sterilised." And they're actually incentivizing.
And that's the same with the vaccines. They're showing these nasty videos to kids and then getting them to line up.
Yeah,
after seeing these horror films of what ill children, and this these vaccinations will save you. So without the parents' consent, they're all getting poisoned.
Yeah, well, I mean, they do this. It's mind control, basically. And even with pantheism, the way they will say to people now, look, they're saying humans are bad and we need to let nature come back, but it's got to be there and we're not allowed to touch it. You know what I'm saying? And they'll say, this is all the New Age agenda. This is all the New World Order. This is all about Agenda 21. So you can't, it's very difficult for me, even with what I'm saying with the loss of shamanistic traditions, trying to get people to reconnect with nature and see the value of nature. Now they can hijack that as well and say, that's pantheism. That's the New World Order religion. The New World Order religion is going to exalt nature over humankind. They're not realising that we're all connected together. We can literally communicate with nature in ways that we cannot believe, we wouldn't even believe possible. But all of our higher senses are locked down. All of our ability to do this has been taken away from us. So now if you try to start preserving these shamanistic cultures, people are going to say, you're supporting the New World Order agenda, you're supporting Agenda 21 because you're supporting the preservation of nature. You know what I'm saying? So they control it all. They control both sides of the game. It's very, very difficult to get people to look outside of the box, If you're thinking about preserving nature and preserving the forest, you must be a pantheist. You must be supporting Agenda 21. They're not realising that we are actually part of nature ourselves and we can communicate with nature around us in ways that we simply don't know that we can. But you can see this all throughout the rest of the world. You can see animal species communicating with nature. You can see if there's a tsunami or there's some sort of an earthquake or something that's going on, you'll find these animals leave the area 2 or 3 days before it happens. You'll find that tribal cultures also leave the area 2 or 3 days before it happens. They know that something's about to happen, and so they leave because they can communicate with the energy field. They can communicate with nature in ways that we can't do, but we should be able to. And if we did have that ability to do that, I don't believe the world would be in the state that it's in. I think we can live in harmony. I think we can live in harmony with technology and with nature. And I don't think that we need any ism to control it at all. I think we just need to remember who and what we are.
Well, it's like that with everything. I'm one of these people that believe that the whole New World Order's push for the global warming thing is completely the same with Agenda 21. It's about gaining power. It's more than concern of the planet. It's a concern. It uses it as a scapegoat to allow them to have more power over our everyday lives. A clear example is just with all the contamination we have through Fukushima or the use of depleted uranium in munitions. If there was a legitimate concern for the planet by the ruling elite, that would be a major concern. But they really don't seem to care about destroying the planet. They just want to have that sort of touchy-feely goal as an excuse to take away people's liberties and their rights and their freedoms, and to get this control freak desire to absolutely control every single aspect of our lives. And
well, absolutely. If they cared about the planet at all, they wouldn't be doing a quarter of the things that they're doing. But you see, they've hijacked our love for nature, though, because when we all care about nature, we absolutely do. And so they've turned us to the state where we're looking at ourselves as the destroyers of nature, but it's really not us. It's the corporate system that's destroying it. And because we all feel connected to nature, then they can usher in this new way of thinking whereby we see ourselves as an enemy of nature. Mm-hmm. But again, it's duality, it's a separation. We're seeing ourselves as separated from it. And so therefore we can play the role of the enemy, or we can play the role of the saviour. But really we are connected to it. We're all one. We're all together with this stuff. That's the way we should be living if we were in our natural state. I mean, there's absolutely nothing natural about civilization at all. Mm-hmm. Especially this current civilization that we have. There's nothing natural about it at all. Everything we create is dead. We harvest everything out of the earth. We strip resources and minerals out of the earth, and we create dead stuff from it. We create buildings that are dead. They may look pretty, but they're dead. They only have life when we go into them and give them life. Everything that we create is dead, and it's like an imitation of life. And this whole transhumanist thing, the whole GM thing, the whole looking for the God gene, everything we're doing, it's like we're trying to create a new species. We're trying to create life, and we don't know how to do that. We can only create life from our own organic substance. We can create life through procreation, through the male and the female, the way we've always created life. But we want to be able to do it in a jar. We want to be able to do it in a bottle. We want to be able to walk into a laboratory and take different compounds and mix them together and create life. And everything we're doing, it's like we're trying to discover the God within ourselves. But we're doing it from a very left-brain scientific perspective, when the God and the beauty and the divineness in ourselves is already there by our connection with nature. And we've ignored that, and we're looking for another way. It's almost like ego gone wild and gone rampant. But that's really what we're doing. And they've done it through our particular love for nature. They've managed to now lock us into this area where we see ourselves as a threat. We seriously see ourselves as a threat to nature, global warming, all this terrible stuff that we're doing. Nature's going to die because of us if we don't preserve it. And our way of preserving it is putting little fences around it and not letting anybody touch it, which further disconnects us from nature. So it's really, really insidious the way they've done it, but it's all mind control, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there seems to be loads and loads of mind control in every part of our lives now. How's the things over with have you got fluoridated water over there in Australia now?
There's fluoridated water in a lot of Australia, but there isn't in the particular place where I live. I live in a place called Byron Bay, and we didn't let them put fluoride in the water here. They tried, but we made a big noise about it, and they didn't get to put it in.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Matt,
it's actually the only shire in New South Wales that doesn't have fluoride in the water, I believe.
We have a couple of questions, Max. One from Uncle Grinder. He's asking, would you suggest that an existing trust is advisable, or create one for yourself?
Well, look, when I was saying trust before, when I think an existing trust, I mean, creating trust for yourself, it's all very good, but I don't particularly want to create a private trust for myself. I don't really want to extricate myself from the machine. What I want people to do is to realise the machine's fiction, and we can extricate ourselves from it completely, all of us. Because ultimately, what your relationship with government is that of fiduciary trust. That's what government is. We elect people to essentially manage our infrastructure for us. That's what they do. They only get the power that we give them, and they use that power to enact legislation which they believe controls us. And they take our rights away, they make us walk between the lines, they make us do this and do that and jump on command. And they're getting away with it through the power that we give them. And they're getting away with it because we don't realise it's just fiduciary trust. That's your whole relationship with government, is fiduciary trust. We employ these people to manage our infrastructure, and they're in breach of trust. I mean, look at the state of the world today, and I would suggest that every government in the world is in breach of trust. I mean, look at the state of it. Who gave the corporations the power to rate the planet? The governments did, by legislation they enacted. They only get that power from us. And they get away with it because we don't realise it's just a trust agreement. That's our whole relationship with these people. So any legislation they're bringing against us, I mean, I could say, well, okay, that's interesting legislation, but let's have a look at this trust agreement first. I mean, if you believe that you can enact legislation which is going to remove me of my rights, you're going to put me in jail or fine me if I step outside one of your lines, well, I would say that you're in breach of trust by doing that. Because the only injured party in the breach of a statute is the person who's prosecuted. So, you've got to really step back and start looking at things like this. I mean, that's the relationship the basis of our whole relationship with government is fiduciary trust. People don't see that. They don't look at it that way anymore. But really, that's what it is. And once people become aware of it, well, we can sort of step back and say, well, hang on a minute. Everything you guys are doing is you get the power from us. It's breach of trust. It's really simple. It really is. But people just have to start looking at it that way. I mean, you've got to start realising the government are simply public trustees. That's all they are. And, people will go through, they'll open up a private trust for themselves. They'll do this, they'll do that, try to extricate themselves from the system so they can stand on their own. But they never really do because the system is all around them still. And even if they do, if you go down the road of someone like Robert Paget, that Ben Stewart made a film about last year, Ungrip, the man who's actually freed himself. He's living sovereign. He's out there in the country in Canada. And that's all very well, but he's isolated. The problem that we have is the system itself. And even if you go and start a private trust and you isolate yourself from the system's still here. It's still doing all the damage that it's been doing, and it's going to continue doing until we stop it. The only way we're going to stop it is by realising that it's run by public trustees. There's already trust agreements that exist. We're each part of a trust agreement. We just don't know that we're part of this trust agreement. So we need to wake up to that. And then we won't need any sovereignty. We won't need to go down any little rabbit holes of extricating ourselves from the system. We can extricate all of society from the system in one fell swoop by people simply realising what the system is and what their relationship with government is. And that is fiduciary trust.
Yeah. What's the Australian government like over there? I mean, is it completely corrupt as over here? I mean, we might as well just have the one party, just corruption everywhere. How bad is it over there?
Oh, it's exactly the same. It's the same in every country. It's what we have is a functional rotational dictatorship where we elect a new CEO every few years. Yeah. But the system never changes. They might have a few little different policies, little different flavoured icing to put on the cake to make you think like you're getting a different cake that day. But really, it's the same cake. You cut into it and it's rotten at the core the way they all are. Yeah. So it's just theatre. I mean, voting in politics, it's really theatre for the masses. The agenda never changes. It's been plodding along in the same direction for a very long time. And it's going to keep doing so until people realise what's actually going on and realise what's going on with this fiduciary trust. Because that's the key. I really think that's the key to the whole thing. There's no way you can operate within legal parameters to fix this. You can't vote anybody in. You can't vote anybody out. You can't petition the government. You can't enter politics yourself and think that you're going to work within those parameters and free anything or change anything. You've got to realise that the system's fiction. We just made it up. It's just based on legislation that was written down by public trustees. And that's it. That's the key to the whole thing. And once we can understand that we are all equal under the eyes of God, even under their law, it says that man was created equal. It says in their Bible that they use as the basis for their whole legal system. On the second page, it says God created man and gave man dominion over the earth. So why would we think anybody is any better than anybody else? Why would we think that government have any power over us at all? They only have that power because we vote them in and tell them that they have power. And if they use that power to take our rights away, isn't that an abuse of power? Isn't that a breach of trust? People just have to change their perspective. That's the way we have to look at it. And that's really the only place a remedy is going to be found. Because they created the whole political system. They created the whole legal system. And they created it to protect themselves, not to protect us. They created it to tie us in red tape and prevent us from ever getting at them. So we have to step away from it and put it all back into fiduciary trust. That's the only place remedy will ever be found.
I mean, how do we go about? Waking people up. How do you go? Because most people they're in their jobs that they're, just into. Oh, James. they're in these jobs just to keep a roof over their head and put some food on the table. They get in of a night, they sit down, they turn the telly on. They're being pumped full of the mainstream media news, telling them what they should be believing in and what country's bad. And then the adverts come on and they're telling them what shoes they should be wearing and what TV set they should be buying. And they're just so wrapped up in their own little bubbles. They're not seeing the bigger picture. They're not seeing what, with myself and yourself and, a lot of our audience are seeing. How would you go about, or how can you suggest that we can go around and start waking people up to this, to this atrocities that are going on at the moment and corruption?
Well, they are very programmed, but what you've got to do is lead by example in all that you do. I've found that it works wonders. If you can simply walk your talk, the things I was saying before about trust, knowing that this is who and what you are, always lead by example, always try to help reality by your presence in it, try to help people, try to do the right thing, and show people that there's a better way. So you can scream about the government all you want, you can point the finger, you can say these people are all corrupt, but you have to show people that there is something better, because most people are very much afraid of the system breaking down. Because if the system were to break down, that would require self-responsibility from people. People actually have to look after themselves and be responsible for their actions. And they don't want that. It's a very, very scary process for people. It's a very scary prospect to actually be in control of yourself. And so you've got to start speaking out and questioning, but do it politely. I mean, I speak out at every opportunity against police officers, but I don't attack them. I just do it politely and try to demonstrate to the people that there's a better way, leading by example. So I don't even think that we need any more people than we've got. I mean, there are a lot of people that are awake. That's something that I've seen in my travels. I've seen pockets of resistance literally all over the world. Hundreds and hundreds, probably hundreds of thousands of pockets of resistance all over the world. We need to find a way of linking all these people up together. And getting them to get out of their egos and not seeing any one particular way as right. We've all got a piece of the puzzle. I really believe if we stand in the power of our flesh and we simply question authority, do it in the right way, and lead by example in what we do, then the world will wake up around us by default. I've had an amazing amount of success just by being myself. The success that I've had with the website, the success I've had with the radio shows, with the things that I've done around the house where I live, the town where I live in Byron Bay, Australia. I've had an amazing amount of success just because I kind of, it's almost like I vibrate at a different rate to some other people. I'm usually kind of calm and I'm usually respectful and polite to people, even people in authority. I'm respectful and I'm polite to them, and I treat them always as a human being, not as any particular uniform they might be wearing. And I end up usually diffusing any situations that I get into just by being in that energy and being in that power and speaking to these people as an equal, not as my ruler, but not as anyone below me. We get angry all the time, and we can't do that.
There's so a lot of anger.
Well, there is just people screaming fear, 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 new world order, global police state, oh my God, what are we going to do? Let's overthrow the government. And it just freaks people out. They don't want to hear it. They need to see that there's a better way.
Yeah, they need to find their own truth, don't they? They need to find it in their own time, because ramming it down people's throat isn't going to do it, is it?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It freaks them out. It's actually counterproductive.
Yeah.
And very often protests are counterproductive as well, because people get out there and they just get really angry. They shake their fist at the government for a day, then they go home and they think they've actually made a difference. But they haven't. The system's still there. It's still going. And really they can focus that attention on improving reality for their neighbours, improving the reality that they live in their home, and getting to know people, putting a smile on people's faces, getting them to think outside of the box a little bit by the example that you set. I think that's really the key to the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So you're saying you're on this trip around the world. When did you leave Australia? When did it start, and where did you start from?
Well, it started on the 31st of July. I went to Peru. I went there. I did 2 weeks at a retreat in Peru. And I went from there to Costa Rica, and from there I went to a few places around Europe, ended up in Slovenia speaking at the World Hemp Congress, and then from there ended up in England, And I went to Ireland a few days ago. I just spent 3 days in Ireland, which was really nice.
Oh yeah, Vinny says hi, by the way, and he says it was great to meet you.
Yeah, it was good. It was really nice to meet Vincent. He gave me a laptop, actually, that he promised he was going to give me about a year ago that I'd forgotten all about.
Oh, he's a good man.
And that was really good. And then I went back to London, and now I'm down in Cairo.
Right.
And we're planning on maybe going into and visiting Gaza while we're here as well.
Okay, talking about the Middle East and what's going on over there, what are your thoughts with the whole Zionists and James? You put up the map of Israel earlier, the Gaza? No, oh, I thought it was.
No.
About how much land the Palestinians had back, I don't know, 50 odd years ago, up until and now to today's date when they've actually practically got nothing.
It's been stolen from them, and it's been an ongoing thing for a very long time. I mean, this is nothing new. I mean, really, Israel. I look at Israel. I see it as a weapons lab that's run by the Rothschild family. That's all it really is. It was set up under false pretenses. It's basically owned and run by the Rothschilds. The whole Zionist structure of Israel. This all goes back to the Rothschilds.
Well, the symbol of their flag is the Rothschild crest. So
yeah,
instead
exactly.
of the menorah, which
it all goes back, and this goes back to the to an agreement that was created with Britain, the transfer agreement way back in 1938 or something, well before World War II. Hitler signed a transfer agreement with England, and they basically started to establish Israel even before World War II. And Israel's purpose is to create instability in the Middle East and bring about World War III. That's what it's all about. It serves no other purpose. I mean, sure, there could be a Jewish state, but I don't even see the reason for there to be one because, no other religion has a country. I don't see why Judaism should be given a country either. There may be countries that are predominantly Muslim, there may be countries that are predominantly Christian, but there's no religious race that says, okay, we come from here. There's no religious movement that says we come from here because, that's basically what Judaism has done. It's said we come from here, we are a race, we're not a religion. But really, it's a race, it's a religion. It's not a race, it's a religion. So the whole thing's just a scam. And of course, the actual Jews get the blame for it all. All the terrible stuff that is done by Zionist extremists all around the world, and you'll find that most of the terrorism and all the banking stuff, most of the problems that we face come from this Zionist group of people. And you don't have to be Jewish to be a Zionist, and you don't have to be a Zionist to be a Jew. The Jews are just the scapegoats for it all. So it's very, very insidious, but ultimately it all comes back to the same system. All roads lead to Rome. It's the Vatican system, it's the Rothschild system, it's the whole corporate structure. With this corporate consolidation that they're creating, this whole global corporate system they're creating, it needs an enemy in order to function. You've got to have an enemy. You've got to have conflict. And that's what Israel's for, is to create conflict.
So what are you planning to do there? If you get over, do you think you're going to be successful to get to Gaza?
I think so, yeah. Absolutely, yeah. I think that's absolutely what will happen. And I don't really know what will come of it. I just want to have a look. I want to, especially when I meet the Samuni family, the family who was brutalised in 2009 by Israeli rocket attacks. I don't know whether you're familiar with the story.
No.
But there was 100 members of the Samuni family that Israel basically, they hoarded them all into one house together to keep them safe, of course. And then they blasted the house with rockets. They hit it with two rockets, I think, and they bombed all around it. And they killed about 30 members of the Samuni family in one go. And it's absolutely shocking. They were actually cited for war crimes for doing it. The United Nations even got involved. Bless their little cotton socks,
Yeah.
But I guess it got to the stage where, look, they had to say something because the world was looking. But yeah, I'd like to meet the Samuni family. I'd just like to see what's going on in Gaza firsthand because, as a friend of mine, Ken O'Keefe, says, the way of Gaza is the way of the world. And if we allow this to continue in Gaza, then this is what we're going to see in other countries. It'll just gradually get worse and worse the more totalitarian our systems become. And eventually what you're seeing in Gaza, you'll see on the streets of London. Or maybe not London, maybe not central London, but you'll certainly see in the rest of England. You'll see in Ireland, if we haven't already seen this sort of stuff in Ireland. The Irish people have been horribly brutalised by this system. So and Somalia. I mean, like everywhere, all around the world, we're seeing people completely brutalised by this system. But it's so in your face in Gaza because it's right there. I mean, that's where Israel is, and they've set up this prison camp next door, basically, where they can just go and have pot shots at the Palestinian people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want to see it. I want to show my support for the people. I get a lot of fan mail from Palestine. A lot of Palestinian people listen to this show. I've felt very strongly about the issue of Palestine for a long time. And so, yeah, if I've got an opportunity to get in there and see them, I absolutely want to do so.
It does mirror this whole corporate system. They do everything in test beds. Everything that they basically perpetrate on the entire world is first done to small pockets. So you have East and West Berlin, you have North and South Korea, where they have different, you have communist versus capitalism, and it's all test beds for basically human rat runs, basically. And
it is. They do.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, like this. It reminded me when you were talking about the Palestinians. Well, before the Palestinians, we had the Native Americans in North America, which were put onto reservations. I mean, all of this stuff that we allow other people to live through, when we allow the North Americans to be exterminated, sterilized, and put onto reservations, or the Palestinians to be treated like that, that's coming our way next. It always comes back to everyone else. So we have to make a stand for human rights in general. For every single individual
absolutely
has the right to live and be free. And once you turn your eye to, they're just going to use that as an excuse that our acquiescence to this sort of abuse means that it's good enough for us.
Well, yeah, and it's even deeper than that though, because like really, when you look at it, the American Indians again, you've got a loss of shamanistic culture and a loss of shamanistic traditions. What we're seeing in Palestine though, like this is sometimes it's just blatant energy harvesting. You see, the Palestinians, they're not really a shamanistic people; they're just people like you and me, and we're allowing this to happen. We're allowing the people next door to be raped and brutalised and tortured and shot and have bombs dropped on them all the time. They're just normal Western people like everybody else. Normal people that don't have all this airy, fairy forest stuff going on, right? They're just people who drive cars, So we can all just see them as the people next door. And we're allowing these people to genocide's been carried out in Palestine. We're allowing these people to be systematically slaughtered. So this paves the way for allowing any civilized country to be systematically slaughtered. I mean, look what we recently saw in Bosnia. Look what we saw in the whole Balkan situation. This is what we're going to be seeing. The stormtroopers will come out in England. People can't pay their taxes. They'll get brutalised the way the Palestinian people do because it's okay to kill the people next door if they haven't paid their bills. Because it legitimises that. But like it also comes down to energy as well. I mean, this whole Rothschild system, this whole Zionist system, it functions very, very much on energy. They know how energy works. They harvest energy. And when you go and carpet bomb these countries and you kill whole families, you create huge energy vortexes. And then you've got the outrage of the public all around the world. They're screaming and angry and throwing rocks. More energy harvesting. No one's really stepping back and seeing the bigger picture. And again, all of this comes down to trust because the governments that are allowing this to happen are doing so because they're in breach of trust. That breach of trust exists because the people within our various nations don't even know this trust agreement is real. They don't even know it exists. They don't even know what their relationship with government is, and so they're getting away with it. So, I mean, it's so insidious what they're doing here, but it will go this way for the whole rest of the world if we allow this to continue. Because it is just the people next door. It's not some airy, planty-based tradition or shamans or whatever you want to think is hippies or whatever. These are just people. So it legitimises the whole thing if you can really look at it that way.
Yeah. Just a quick thing on your travels. A question in the chat box. Obviously, you're on your travels. Have you been stopped by the TSA?
I haven't been to America.
You haven't been to America, okay.
So,
and you haven't passed any other countries? Because I think we've got them here in Manchester, haven't we?
They're on their way out.
Oh, yeah, they are. That's true, yeah.
Yeah, well, I haven't actually been accosted by anybody in my travels. So I am possibly going to Hawaii on my way home, and I will have to deal with them then, I imagine.
Yeah.
But the nearest I've seen to anything to do with TSA is when I was in some airport somewhere. I think it might have been Madrid. They told us we had to get to the check-in an hour earlier than everybody else if we were going to America because of extra security precautions. So it wouldn't surprise me if they're flying their TSA out around the world to act as security at foreign airports now as well, just to delay people another hour.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Not at all, not at all. So after you've done Gaza, then what's the plan?
The plan from Gaza, I'll be going back to England. I'll be back in England for a week. I'll be going back there about, I think, the 3rd of October.
Well, hopefully you'll be coming down to Plymouth, down to the column to see us, I hope.
Well, I can try. I was going to get down there to see you this week, but unfortunately I'm in Africa, or Egypt. So Egypt is Africa, so you get that. But I go back to England on the 3rd. I'll be there until the 9th, so it gives me 5 days. Then I'm going from there to Croatia. I've got a couple of speaking engagements in Croatia. And then I will either be going straight home via London, or I will be going to Hawaii and home via Hawaii. And that's actually looking like it's shaping up to what's going to happen at the moment.
Fantastic. And how do your family feel about this?
My family, well, I've only got my son.
Oh, right, okay.
He's okay. He just says, "You're going into Gaza, Dad? Be careful, please." And he just says, "Have fun." You know, he's a man of few words, my son. So
fantastic.
I've got a sister as well, actually. I shouldn't leave my poor dear sister out. She's great. She's really enjoying it. She's almost been doing the trip with me in spirit. So,
we got a couple of questions.
I've done the TSA one.
Was how Max went on?
Yeah, I've done that. Yeah,
okay.
Yep.
Sorry about that. And the other one was from Hairy Cookie Monster, which I wonder if it's related to the monsters in general. But he asked, how did your meeting with Mama Aya go?
It went actually very, very wonderful. It was a profound 9 days that I spent there in the Amazon. It really was. I had an incredible connection on this one particular night, and I got given the message that I need to come back and make a documentary about the place, and with an aim of uniting a lot of people with this documentary. I had an incredible spirit connection with her. There was one moment where I literally felt like I connected with the Earth Mother, and I connected to the Earth in a way that I didn't even think was possible. And I'd felt some incredible connections to the Earth and to consciousness and just the source field on many occasions anyway, but I'd never really received this incredible love and connection that I got during ceremony in Peru. And I think the need to do it in Peru and do it with the Shipibo people and to do it in the traditional way cannot be overstated. I really think that people that are thinking about doing ayahuasca, if they're just going to go and do it at a friend's place as a bit of a party or whatever, I think they're going to miss out on a lot of the experience. I think it's very, very important that you do it with a shaman.
Yeah.
I actually had a ceremony before I went to Peru, and I got to experience it without the shaman singing, without the actual energy of Peru. I got to experience it in Australia, and it was fantastic. It was very good, and it was very beneficial. But the difference of being in Peru and actually feeling the connection to the earth in Peru was incredible.
Really?
Almost indescribable. It was absolutely amazing.
Guys, sounds it. Just another question. How are you planning on getting into Gaza?
I'll tell you about that after I get back.
Right.
It's actually quite
yeah, I don't really want to go into that.
Exactly,
on the air.
yeah, fair dues.
Yeah.
If you do dress up in a really cool outfit, take a picture for us. We'll throw it up on the website.
Yeah, no worries.
If you have like an Ariel Sharon outfit or something, like a skin suit, then that'll be...
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's going to happen, James. But
so
I'll be sure to keep you posted anyway. But we are going to document the whole trip, so
awesome.
You'll find out a bit later.
Liberty Tactics is all about empowering our listeners with things that they can do practically. Have you got any tips of, suggestions that you can get people to I mean, we're big into getting people to take control of their health,
empowering themselves,
to
preparedness.
So have you got any tips that you'd like to pass on to the listeners that you think would be a great way for them to sort of take control of, even in a very small way or in a personal way, to sort of...
Well, my biggest tip for you after being over there would be to say, get out of London.
Right.
Yeah.
You mean get away from that place? So I couldn't believe the chemtrails over there and the whole energy of the field. But
they
look,
circle the skies, Max. They circle. They crisscross. They're doing it at night. I mean, I've been really ill for like 2 months, and I'm convinced, it partly is to do with the chemtrails.
I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anywhere worse than London for chemtrails. It's absolutely mind-blowing. But it's like I said, leading by example in all that you do. Understand about this trust agreement. If people can get their heads around the concept of fiduciary trust and realise that that's all government are, they're simply public trustees, and then you stand in the power of that and approach these people as public trustees, I think that will make an enormous difference. Mm-hmm. But again, you need the strength of numbers to do it and get away with it. Mm-hmm. So therefore, you've got to be leading by example in all that you do. You've got to be connecting with your neighbours. You've got to be a joy to be around. Start realising that the way to improve your life is to improve the lives of the people around you. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean you buy them stuff. It's not like that. It's treating them with respect. Discovering your own perfection so you can see it in others. These are the sorts of things that we can all do. And these are the sorts of things that really help me in what I do. I have a lot of people write to me and ask me, Max, what can I do to help? And I say, well, you can change your perspective. Change your perspective of what reality is and how you interact with reality. That's the biggest help you can be. Mm-hmm. Because once you discover these things about yourself and you discover these truths and you apply them to the world around you, your world will change. Mine has. My world's changed completely since I had these understandings. And so I'm living proof that it does work if you can just change your perspective and apply it to the world around you.
Mm-hmm. I found personally the way I get through to the most people is through the whole health thing myself, because I'm an example. I've always been healthy and I've always had, you have colds, you feel ill, blah, blah, blah. Despite being healthy, and it's not until you learn that that we're under all this bombardment, chemical bombardment, and when you approach people and give them and you help them improve their own situation through their own self-empowerment, telling them that they can avoid certain foods and it's like a switch goes off in their head, and then they realize that the matrix that they were living in isn't the entire thing, and that the information that they have been accessing through the mainstream media or through the television, through the newspapers, isn't nearly as accurate as they presume. And then once that wall breaks down, they're a lot more open to other things that may not be right. So, I mean, everybody's different, I guess, but...
Yeah, well, that helps. I mean, it's amazing how untrue it is, though. I mean, it isn't true at all. There isn't anything about it that's true. Mm-hmm. The world that people are presented to by the television, they've got no idea what reality is like and how reality works. They really don't. Mm-hmm. They just believe what the television tells them. Oh, yeah, we've got to go and bomb that country because the guy on the TV said that we have to.
And the cognitive dissonance these days is incredible as well. It's staggering because you'll be watching well, I don't, but I've had it on before. You have the BBC will be on TV saying, Al Qaeda forces, we're arming Al Qaeda forces to take over Libya, and then in the next sentence they'll say we have to protect ourselves from Al Qaeda and have people feeling up our kids at the airport, and they're not even trying to make up new narratives. They're just coming out with it, and the people, obviously the people that are watching their TV are to such a level now where they don't even question basic fundamentals. And another thing was this one was shocked me was when Fukushima was going on last year, and they were saying that the plant is bellowing out nuclear
and it's only going into the radio.
But don't worry about it. It's only dangerous within the 13-mile exclusion zone, and you're thinking, does anybody actually, who could actually hear that, or how could the presenter read that out and not say, wait a minute, this is just daft,
Yeah.
Well, it's ridiculous. I mean, you can tell people anything these days. That's the thing. It's got to the point now where they just believe anything that you feed them. But you can't blame them because they're trained to be this way. I mean, human consciousness has been brutalised. I mean, the fluoride and the GM foods and the toxins, the alcohol, everything that people consume, and it all compounds to create the type of consciousness that we currently have. And so, I mean, you can tell these people up is down and black is white and whatever, they will probably believe you because they're too busy to even consider what you might be saying would be not true. That's the thing. They're so caught up on the treadmill because they've got to pay so much to be alive. They've got to be out running around collecting paper all the time. So they don't even have time to look. And then you start telling them about this stuff. They go, "Oh, look, don't bother me. It's all negative. I just want some time to relax in front of the TV. I've got a big day tomorrow. Just give me an hour of peace, please." You know, and that's the way people live their lives. But they never ask why. Why is their life like that? Why do they spend their lives running around so fast just to keep their head above the water? And then they never really have time to not only look around, but they never have time to find themselves. They don't have time for their children, for their husbands and wives. It's ridiculous, but they never question it. I mean, it's really, really been brutalised. And so you can't be too hard on them. You've got to, again, just try to lead by example in what you do and show them that there is a better way. There is something different that they're just not seeing at the moment, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we've got... my big gripe at the moment, Max, is Tony Blair walking around. He's saying he's coming back into British politics. There's never any mention on mainstream media about I think it's almost 1 million Iraqis, women, children. 1.8, is it, James? Oh, well done. That were killed, let alone all the British troops. What was the thoughts of the politicians over in Australia with all these wars, and how do they? Because in a lot of countries they're calling for him to Blair to go up to The Hague on war crimes. Any mention of it over in Oz?
Well, we saw the reports where Tony Blair and George W. Bush and a couple of others were found guilty of war crimes in, I think it was a Malaysian court.
It was Malaysia, yeah.
Yeah, and they were told that any country that they walk into has an obligation to arrest them. But of course, we don't hear anything about it on the news. They don't tell us this on the mainstream news. No. So it's, Australian people, they're very apathetic. I mean, they're very lost in this whole lucky country concept that they have, and they're all so separated from each other. Australia's a very very divided culture. Same as everywhere, though. I mean, it's the same everywhere you go around the world, but the politicians are just as corrupt. I mean, they're all supporting the same wars. I think Blair and Bush are just in a little bit more trouble because they were the ones who really, really pushed it. I mean, they lied through their teeth. A lot of the other politicians, they've got, plausible deniability. They can say, well, we didn't know. We were told by Tony Blair and George Bush that this is what was going on. So, but those two, they can't really weasel out of it. I mean, they are the ones who basically cooked the whole Iraqi invasion up, and they can't wiggle out of that no matter what they do. So, I think it's no wonder that they've been charged with war crimes. I think it's a joke. I mean, him talking about he's coming back to politics. I mean, maybe the people will let him in, maybe they won't, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it's all theatre anyway. It doesn't mean anything. None of it means anything. It's just fiction, the whole lot of it.
Yeah. So in the chat box, we've had Icon as a guest a couple of months back, but someone's asked, are you going to be likely to meeting up with Ike at all on your way back?
David Icke?
Yeah.
Actually, I went and saw him last week. He had a talk at, let me see, it was at Isle of Wight. He had a rehearsal for his Wembley talk. If you go to my blog, if you go to Max's travel blog on my website, thecrowhouse.com, you'll see a picture there, I think, of David and myself.
Yeah.
And Ken O'Keefe, I think. I put a picture there. If I didn't put it there, then I posted it on Facebook. If I didn't put it on my blog, then I'll add it there. But yeah, he was very good. I saw him last week. He was very tired at the end of his talk, so he didn't stay very long. But no, he was great. I don't know if I'll get a chance to catch up with him again in the next week that I'm back there because I'm pretty busy. But I plan on coming back again. I mean, now I'm out and about. I plan on coming around and doing a few things again, but probably speaking next time. I've managed to do this tour without really doing any speaking dates at all. I was supposed to have one down at Zoo Studios on the 26th, but I'm in Cairo instead, so that's kind of that's wiped that out of the agenda. But it's been kind of good because I've spent most of this trip just listening.
Yeah.
And I've been to some incredible places, and a lot of dominoes have fallen, and a lot of little questions have been answered in my mind. A lot of little dots have been connected, and I've got a completely different perspective of things, or not completely different, but a far more solidified perspective of things than what I did when I left Australia back in July. So it's been great, and if I'd been come around the world and I'd been speaking the whole way, I would have been focused on my talk, I would have been focused on the dates and focused on the events, and I wouldn't have got to just observe the way I have on this trip.
Yeah.
And so it's been really, really good, actually.
Oh, it sounds fantastic.
Scottish Sovereign asks, what is Max's take on Ike's reptilian and shapeshifter concepts?
Okay, always a controversial issue, isn't it?
Yeah, very.
Recently, I've read a book called the Nag Hammadi Writings, which are a group of Gnostic texts that were found in a place called Nag Hammadi, Egypt. There's been a lot of people talking about these writings. John Lamb Lash has written a book on these writings called Not in His Image. I haven't read John's book, but I do mean to read it. And the archons that are mentioned in these Gnostic teachings seem very reminiscent of David's reptilians that he talks about. Now, I don't know. I mean, I can't rule them out, but I can't say this is what's going on. I mean, I've got an open enough mind to say anything's possible. Absolutely anything's possible. When I look at the world today, I look at civilization today, it doesn't really seem like something we would come up with on our own. And a lot of the stuff that I've found in the Nag Hammadi writings and a lot of the Gnostic teachings makes an awful lot of sense. And you also find that these stories that are mentioned in the Nag Hammadi teachings are also replete throughout shamanistic cultures and shamanistic traditions and tribal cultures all around the world. So, again, you'd have to ask, why was it so high on the corporate agenda to go and wipe out all these shamanistic cultures? What did they have to tell us that was so important that they didn't want us to find out? And so that sort of lends credence to a lot of that sort of stuff. Whether it's reptilian shapeshifters, I doubt that. I think that even with what David said, if you listen to what he says, he doesn't talk about people actually shapeshifting. He talks about your consciousness perceiving more of reality at certain times, and so it appears that people are shapeshifting because you're seeing the bigger picture. So I think a lot of it's been blown out of proportion with what David said, and I think there's like I said, I'm not going to say it's happening, but I'm not going to rule it out either, because there is a certain amount of evidence out there to suggest that things are not what they seem. And some of the things that I've actually seen along the way, some of the stuff I just saw with Ireland, actually confirmed a lot of this stuff as well. So you've really got to be open to this. I think there's more to uncover. The whole veil hasn't been lifted yet.
Yeah. I mean, Duck Dodgers in the chat room, he said, don't the Aboriginal people talk of the serpent people?
Absolutely they do. They do. They talk about a serpent race that lives underground and controls humanity from beneath the ground. Yeah. You've got the Africans talking about the Chitahuri. Yeah. You've got the Indians talking about the Nagas. You've got all sorts of cultures all talking about a race that is not quite human. They refer to them as reptilian because they're not human. They're different to us. Is it true? I don't know. I only know what I can research and what I can see for myself. I can't say that I've ever seen any people who look reptilian. I haven't seen anything, in this physical world that would suggest that this is true. But again, some of the things I know about the human psyche and about human consciousness, and some of the references I see in religious texts and stuff, they sort of suggest that this might well be a possibility. So I'm not going to rule it in, but I'm not going to rule it out.
Yeah. You going to talk about them?
Oh, I was just going to say, there was the Dogon tribe as well, which have quite a history. That goes a bit into the Saturn stuff, but yeah, it goes back into amphibian, reptilian type creators that came and messed with people's DNA. So who knows?
Well, yeah, I don't think it was just the DNA they messed with. I think it was also they messed with our psyche a lot as well. And I think that there's evidence to suggest that this is what happened, and I think that's all over the earth as well. That's something else I'm hopefully going to be touching on in the new film.
Oh, great.
Brilliant. Looking forward to that one.
So your plans for 21st of December 2012,
Yeah.
Max?
Well, my plans for 20... Mate, I don't know what I'll be doing. I'll just be... my plan is to wake up the next day.
Right, so you think a lot of this has just been big hype?
Yeah, I think it's all blown out of proportion, personally. I think it may well be an opportunity for us.
Mm-hmm.
There is definitely some sort of shift happening. There is definitely some sort of rise in the energy field happening. Just the fact that we're having these type of conversations and doing these type of radio shows shows that that's happening. But is the world just going to suddenly change to a new reality on December 21st? I really don't think so, no.
I mean, the rise of alternative media over the last few years has just been colossal. Have you found that yourself, Max? That people are turning more and more to alternative media than looking at the mainstream?
Well, they have been turning more to alternative media, but the problem with alternative media is a lot of people have just been throwing their 2 cents worth in without any real research.
Yeah.
And suddenly everybody is part of the alternative media,
Yeah.
And it's great that people are working and want to get the message out, but what exactly is the message that they're getting out? See, look, for a lot of people, it's like reading a spy novel. It's like, oh my God, I found the world is all messed up and there is this conspiracy going on, and it's like doom porn for them. And they just want the next installment. They want the next series in the soap opera, next week. So for a lot of people, it's just they're following the excitement of it. Oh my God, everything isn't the way I thought it was. What is it? And they do all this sort of stuff. So they're not really providing solutions. I think that's what we need is solutions.
Yeah,
I think what this is all about. That's what this year's about. It's giving us the opportunity for these solutions.
Yeah, I mean that's what TNS Radio is all about. Is finding the solutions. So completely agree there. Now, I just want to touch on the Olympics. Did you watch the Olympics, the opening ceremony?
No, look, I was in Peru. I was locked up in the jungle. I didn't see any of the
missed
Olympics.
It, mate. I bet you wish you were at a bed sit in England watching that, because I'm sure Peru is a downer compared to the...
look, I was devastated, mate, that I missed the Olympic ceremonies. I mean, I saw a little bit of one of them. It looked very, very dark and like what you would expect from the Olympics. But I've been on the road ever since the Olympics was staged, so I haven't even seen the opening ceremony. I haven't seen any of it, so I missed the whole thing, which I'm really, really happy about, to be honest.
It was honestly, it was quite deserving. Children being offered up to Lord Voldemort. It was very just shocking, really, wasn't it?
Oh, lovely.
Just touching on what's the state. I work alongside Brian Garish, who does a lot in this country, and talks a lot about child stealing by the state. Where children are literally being stolen by social services, taken away from parents. Is that problem going on over in Australia?
It is not as bad as what we see in England, though. I mean, England seems to be leading the world in child theft, state-sponsored child theft. We do see it in Australia, but not nearly as bad as what you see it in England. And like I said, we've got such a low population over there. It's kind of difficult for them to get away with it over there as much as they do in England. But in England, I mean, they've created a state of such hardship in England that a lot of people living in London, a lot of people living in the cities there are living in states of almost abject poverty. And so it's very easy to come in, you start making the rules more and more stringent, and eventually all you've got to do is walk into someone's house and find the bed not made and a lampshade torn, and you can accuse them of being an unsafe parent, It's really gotten to that stage. It's just ridiculous. You can accuse them of almost anything and take their kids. And so I think we're seeing it more and more in England, and I think it's also very much on the rise in America. But we do see it in Australia, but it's not reported. And when we do see it, a lot of the people, I mean, there's usually a fair bit of family support for them, so they make a lot of noise about it.
Oh, so there are people standing up and shouting out about it?
Well, there are, and they find that they've got, a lot of family around them as well quite often. I just don't think they get away with it as much in Australia. I mean, maybe it's just because of our low population. I don't know. Maybe they don't need to. I mean, again, I think a lot of this comes down to energy as well. It comes down to controlling the energy field, controlling the consciousness. A great way to do it is through stealing people's children. And some of the rituals that they get up to with these children as well. I mean, that's pretty shocking. But, I mean, England is the centre for all of this sort of stuff, I mean, England is really the heart of the beast. London is the heart of the beast. There's so much evil in that town. And really this whole corporate system, the whole financial system that enslaves everybody, that all comes out of London. Even what's going on in Israel, the deal was brokered by London. It all comes back to this crown corporation, the Vatican system. So, yeah, I think we just see more of it in London and people are more aware of it because there's just so much population there.
Yeah, agreed. Anything to add?
No, London gives me the creeps.
Yeah, we went up to London recently and James was like a little lost lamb.
Well, it's not that. It's just when you're attuned to certain things, you're like, this place is, especially certain areas. Like, the further you get closer into the city of London, the sovereign state, then you're like, nah, I don't really want to be here. I don't like it.
Oh, it's dark. It's really dark. It's got a really, really oppressive energy. It's very, very, you can feel it. It's tangible, And all the thoughts of the people as well, all the wireless technology. I mean, a week in London, my eyes were itchy, my sinuses were half blocked and my lungs were sore and my thoughts were all scattered. I think it'd be impossible for me to record a radio show in London. My thoughts are just too scattered. I mean, they probably come back together after you've left the place for a little while or after you've been there for a little while. You probably get used to it. But coming from where I have, as soon as I arrived there, it was like walking through thick soup or something. It was really, really strange.
Max, we had a story on at the beginning of the show, basically about how they've got tech now that with a handheld device they can see through people's walls and get basically an idea of what's going on in the next room because of the Wi-Fi signals. I mean, that's how tangible they are. Have you looked into the health effects from Wi-Fi or the way that they, the signals and all this background radiation that we've got everywhere, interferes with people and sort of...
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. Look, we are electromagnetic beings. Everything we experience is electromagnetism. When you touch something, you feel it. That's electromagnetism. Even you're hearing things and seeing things, it's all electromagnetic impulses picked up by the brain. All electric signals interpreted by the brain. So we live in an electromagnetic universe. We are more electrical beings than we are even biological beings as far as consciousness goes. I mean, our biology, that's what makes up the computer that downloads the consciousness. But what are you? Are you biology? No, you're a personality, and that's electromagnetic.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. I mean, the whole wireless grid that they put up is absolutely affecting people's thoughts, and it's affecting the way people respond. And you've got to wonder where it's going as well. I mean, how much they're going to be able to affect the body electromagnetically. I mean, as recently they injected nanoparticles into a rat, and then they were able to hit the nanoparticles with an electromagnetic frequency, and they would switch the genes on and off on the rat. So they're able to do this now electromagnetically. They can remotely control your genes through electromagnetism and nanotechnology. They're telling you they can do it. And this is in mainstream science. You'll find it on science websites.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's all to do with affecting consciousness. David also says that they're actually transmitting to people through the energy efficient light bulbs, those curly bulbs.
Oh, I had a shock. I went to change. I got all the old fashioned light bulbs, and I've recently moved, and you can't fit the old light bulbs, the old fashioned light bulbs. You have to
replace them all with
they've replaced the thing, and you can only have those mercury spirally.
Or the LED ones you can get if you spend a lot of money, but yeah,
you can't fit the new ones into the new lamp, the old ones into the new lamp. So
no, you can't.
You'll see that shows that there's definitely something going on there energetically, because they don't roll that stuff out and force you to use something if it isn't part of the agenda. It has to be part of the agenda, or else they wouldn't go to so much trouble. They've gone to an enormous amount of trouble to make sure people have to use those light bulbs.
Yeah.
A lot of it is similar to the push with television and how It was nationwide. Everybody had to switch over to digital. There was no ifs or buts. I mean, really, the government shouldn't have any say in our entertainment anyways. But it was another one of these things where it was mandated. There was no going back. We had to move digital, and there was this huge push towards, it wouldn't surprise me if in another 5 or 10 years it will mandate that we have to have TVs that have 3D in there, because then they can get you into an even more zombie-like
Trance,
theta
yeah.
state. But there's all these sorts of things that they always mandate, and whenever there's a mandate on something that really is very basic choice. If I want to have a new TV, I can get one. If I want to have an energy saver light
We're
bulb,
having our choices taken away.
Yeah.
We don't have that option of choice anymore.
Well, absolutely, and it's always part of the agenda when they do that. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. If they removed your choice for something, especially with something like these curly light bulbs, I mean, these things are obviously bad. They're obviously poisonous. They're obviously toxic, and they're making you use them. You don't even have a choice. You can't even opt out and go and buy other ones. I mean, the best choice we're going to have will be to light a fire inside and see by candlelight. It's either that or use the curly light bulbs, So there's definitely an agenda there.
There's a question there.
TRP asks, does Max think the energy that's scattered in London? Does Max think the energy is scattered in London because of EMF poisoning?
The energy, run that by
I
me.
guess. Does Max think the energy is scattered in London because of EMF poisoning? Sorry, I read that as. Yeah.
Well, I think it impedes people's ability to think clearly. It impedes people's ability to really view the world from an energetic perspective. It impedes your ability to function properly as an electromagnetic being, because that's what we are. If you're in this polluted state, it's like, if you can imagine the stream, we're just filling it full of toxins and fluoride and poisons and pumping all this stuff into it. Now we're doing it with the energy field around us as well.
Yeah.
We've got all not only the electromagnetic stuff and the wireless technology and the mobile phones and the microwaves have been put into it, but all the negative thoughts of the people as well. All of this stuff's being pumped into the field. And so, yeah, absolutely, it's scattering everybody's energy. It's scattering people's thoughts. It's affecting people's ability to be themselves. Of course it is. It has to.
Absolutely. Well, I think, Max, we'll let you go. I know you're in Egypt. You just got off the plane. You can go and relax. Thank you so much for coming on with us, especially after getting off a plane and your flight and your busy schedule. I really, really appreciate it.
That's all right, Lou. My pleasure. It was lovely to come on. Sorry I was a little bit late.
No, that's fine. I'm just having a bit of a breakdown.
Sorry about that.
A little bit stressed out.
Yes. But hopefully you'll be down. Hopefully we'll get to meet you in person when you come. Hopefully come down to Plymouth. Meet Brian, and we'll do a filmed interview.
Yeah, well, that will be between the 3rd and the 9th. I'll be back there, so I'll see what I can do then.
That'd be fantastic. Well, thanks again so much, Max, and hope it all goes well. And I hope you get over into Gaza. And we'll definitely, when you're back, we'll maybe have a catch up. If you can't make it to Plymouth, we'll have you back on, and you can give us a bit of an update on how it all went.
I will. My pleasure.
That's fantastic.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, Lou.
Thanks so much, Max. You have a good trip.
You too. Bye-bye, James.
Bye, mate.
Bye.
Great. Awesome.
Wasn't it great?
Yeah.
Really good. It's great.
Have you got Wi-Fi around in your house? Do you bathe in electromagnetic?
I have Wi-Fi. Yeah.
I do too as well. Although I'm slowly moving back to wire everything in. Bit difficult with phones.
Yeah.
And you are bathed in everyone else's Wi-Fi, but I think it's just to be aware of that. There are all sorts of devices. Maybe we can get an expert on to discuss that.
That'd be good.
As far as like the
you take your old zeolite baths, don't you?
Oh, I take but I mean, you want to limit as much as you can. I mean, it's impossible to avoid all of the chemicals in the food and the water. It's impossible to avoid all the wireless. But I mean, there's certain things you can do to at least mitigate it a bit. So I've been trying to sort of move away from that. I wanted to get over quickly while we're talking about radiation and getting bathed in it. Earlier this week, it's the 3 years is up since these mobile naked the naked body scanners basically came in, and the EU was pushing, of course, towards whether everybody was pushing towards having these naked body scanners, but no one actually was willing to sign their name on the fact that they were harmless. So because this 3 years period is up, they're actually having now to pull out, because they would have had to have made up their mind and signed up to it. So the good news is that we won't be having naked body scanners in the UK. Some of the airports are bitching about it because now they have to go and buy different, and have different kinds of security, blah, 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 blah. But, for those of us who don't want to have our children scanned naked or get bathed in radiation needlessly, we just have to get touched up by the airport staff. Which,
well, for you,
swings
you
and roundabouts, isn't it, really? I know, I just go back and forth into it. I think somebody did that last year to make a point. They just keep going around and getting felt up by the security.
Did you get felt up? What happened with you?
Oh, well, I was at Logan Airport, which is one of the first. They're like one of the New World Order's love boat airports in the States. No, that's Denver Airport,
right.
But Logan is sort of like that as well. Whenever anything happens, they tend to get the first one, and I opted out of the scanner, and then they had a bloke come up and feel me up, but I sort of made him feel really uncomfortable. I was saying, "Oh, do you want me to push back for you, sir?" And left a bit, right a bit, and he really hurried up. Then he was quick, and he left me alone. But apparently now TSA in the States, because that was becoming a trend, they've started they're actually arresting people that do that.
You're
for sexual
joking.
assault. There's been cases where TSA people have arrested people for sexual assault because when they were feeling up the pedestrians were making noises, and that is sexual assault. It's sort of like,
Wait a minute, what?
That's like a rapist charging a victim
with
for,
rape
for the victim pushing back or something. It's just sick. But anyways,
God,
that's
what are we
the
living
situation we live in.
Isn't it? Should we
today.
play a tune before we
We're
sign
gonna-
out?
Yeah, we'll be signing out in a minute. Another song by 44 Fires.
Yeah, these are good.
They're good, aren't they? LibertyTactics.com or the Liberty Tactics over on Facebook. You'll be able to find the links to them, and I'll have to get them to send some more tracks over.
Yeah, maybe we'll have them on.
That would be
As
cool.
guests.
That
It
would be cool.
good. Yeah, play them, and then we'll come back for a bit more waffle, and then
You
play
probably want to have a bit of Nick Clegg to end us out with. Okay, this is
No, I
44
really don't.
Fires, and we'll be back in 5 minutes.
Fear
Welcome back to Liberty Tactics on TNS Radio, and that was 44 Fires. In fact, actually, another one's going to be playing there. We're over there. That was called the pause button. Grrr, I'm ready to go fight the New World Order now.
Good.
I'm going to go
And they got in touch
punch
with us.
someone in the face. I'm not sure who.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it's
you
great,
can
yeah.
watch it. Sorry, darling.
Yeah, so...
So, what are we
Lovely.
doing then?
Well, we're going to line up some guests for next week. We're not going to tell you who yet because we have to see who's available. We're really shit hot that way.
Yeah, always at the last minute.
In fact, even the guests that we do have lined up barely show up, so it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, hopefully it's going to be a gentleman called Murad who has Osmio Water, and his wife is a doctor as well. And they're really good people, really interesting people.
So they must be extremists if they're talking about getting all the chemicals out of the water, because
they must be.
Because everyone knows chlorine and fluoride are blooming lovely. Lovely.
So we're going to sign out.
We're going to sign out.
Tune. Thank you, Max Igan, for coming on. Thanks to TNS, as always, for letting James and I come on here and waffle and do our stuff. And what are you going to play out with the dogs while the dogs are yapping?
Some Hendrix.
Are you going to? Okay then.
Okay then. Well, this is James. Stay frosty. Lou, stay panicky.
Yeah, always.
All right, and we'll be back next week with Liberty Tactics, and there's some dogs barking in the end. So yeah, there we go. Liberty Tactics signing out.
TNS.
Thanks TNS.